Alright, YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So that was the first session of the week wrapped up there. We had 12 times 400 meters. 4 times 400 meters wouldn't have been much of a session, but no, that was that there. Felt really comfortable that. The coach wanted me to essentially run the 400 meters each interval at sub 95 seconds, so you got to be running at least 3:55 pace. I managed to hold 3:40 pace for all 12 rounds of the 400 meters. Surprisingly, felt really comfortable. Felt like I probably could have pushed a little bit harder. I do have that session coming up again next week though, so maybe I push for like 5-10 seconds faster. I'll see what the coach thinks. But either way, yeah, like I say, that felt really comfortable. Obviously, we've got to be pushing hard leading into Istanbul now, so yeah, gonna be going into a second gear with my training. But as for this video, going to be taking you through a full week in the life training for my next Hyrox race. I feel like I didn't really break down my training well enough in my last vlog, so that's exactly what we're going to do this time around. So like I said, that was the first session of the week there wrapped up. We then do have hypertrophy upper later on in the day, so double session this week. See you later on. Right, we are back in the mix for full body upper. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 resistance training sessions throughout the week. We have 2 upper body sessions, 1 lower body. The coach did try to introduce the idea to begin with of 2 lower body sessions and 1 upper body session. Now, for those of you that have been following since the bodybuilding days, back when I was a men's physique athlete, or trying to be a men's physique athlete, should we say, I was training legs like once every 3 weeks, and they were still holding size quite nicely. And I was putting that volume and frequency into trying to grow my arms, my chest, my delts. And I think that's when I realized that maybe bodybuilding wasn't for me. Maybe I wasn't quite cut out for it, because it's safe to say they weren't growing for shit. But with the size in which I've built over my time bodybuilding over the last decade, I'm kind of wanting to hold that size as much as what I can, or at least have somewhat of an aesthetic look to my physique still. I do want to be great at Hyrox. I still do want to be in with the chance of winning flags, qualifying for world championships, but I still want a bit of a physique left. And it can be done because there's a lot of elite 15 Hyrox athletes that still do have great physiques, but a lot of them did probably spend well up to a decade building muscle prior. But with that, I do want to somewhat still hold the size to my frame whilst chipping away at body fat, lowering my body weight, so that way I'm lighter on my feet and I can perform better. So we are doing, like I say, 2 upper body sessions per week, 1 lower body session per week. They're more strength focused though, as opposed to hypertrophy. So as you would have seen in the last video, we started off the session with 5x5 on the bench press at 65% of my 1 rep max. We're now increasing that to 70% of my 1 rep max for, again, 5 sets of 5 reps. So let's get into it. Right, all right, so that's the first upper body session there. As you can see, slightly different to the normal quote-unquote bodybuilding style resistance training sessions in which I do, but I've really enjoyed that session for the past few weeks now. Bench press is one in which I'm getting used to for sure. I used to bench press quite regularly when I started training, when I started weight training at like 16, 18 years old. And then once I started competing, that's when I started utilizing more machines, Smith presses, dumbbell presses, etc. Not even really so much dumbbell presses, but yeah, bench presses is one in which I don't use regularly. So I almost feel like I've had to rebuild the skill around that lift. Something to get better at for sure though, making sure that I'm improving on my execution, my technique. But yeah, nonetheless, that's the first upper body session of the week. See you tomorrow morning. Right, alright gang, it's Tuesday morning and that was the first session of the day. Technically, that is the only session of the day, but I will be going back to the gym later on just for some extra cardio. But just wrapping up that now with 10 minutes cool down on the Urge bike, but that was literally the exact same session, yet again, in which you saw in last week's video. 70-minute time cap, 800 meter ski, 800 meter row, 3K on the bike, trying to keep heart rate below 135 on average, which we managed to do. I actually felt much better throughout that session as well. Felt like I was able to push a little bit harder whilst keeping that heart rate low. So all in all, that is progression. But no, regardless, felt good there. Gonna go home and actually get my Istanbul tickets booked now, get the flights booked for that, the hotels, more importantly, the races. Like I mentioned in last week's video, I'm gonna be doing an open solo there, and then me and Reese are gonna be hitting up open doubles on the hunt for a flag. So very excited for that. I think with 4 weeks until Marbella and then 4 weeks from Marbella until Istanbul, we've got about 8 weeks prior to Istanbul now. So yeah, big old shift ahead. Very excited for this training block leading into my next race. So yeah, see you later on. Well, alright guys, so it is later into the evening and we've come back into the gym to just get in some extra cardio. When I'm on a single training day, I do like to come back to the gym in order just to complete some extra cardio, as I'm trying to bring it in for Marbella right now in 4 weeks. So just to speed up that rate of loss of touch and bring it in nice and tight for that is one of the goals, of course. So just gonna round up 60 minutes on this. As you can tell, I've been working hard. This is how you should be looking at the end of your Stairmaster sessions for any clients that are watching. So yeah, gonna get this boxed off, then back at home for some one-to-one calls, some education, check-ins are all done for the day, and then we're going to be up and at it early doors tomorrow morning for a base run of 8K. Let's go. Right, alright, so that's the 8K wrapped up there. Aim of that run was to keep it within 5:30 to 6K pace, which is a challenge in itself because I'm just wanting to take off and run quicker, but I managed to keep that at 5:37 pace on average. So yeah, felt comfortable, felt good. Heart rate is continuing to stay lower and lower throughout each and every session, run, etc. So aerobic capacity is improving. So yeah, gonna whip up meal one now and then I will be back in the gym later for legs. All right boys, here we are back in the mix for lower body. I'm not feeling this session, really not feeling this session. This one's going to be a drag, I can tell, but we got 5x5 back squat to begin with at 65% of my 1 rep max, so that is 100 kilos for me. We then got 3 sets of reverse lunge. We then have RDL. We then have about 3 sets of wall balls. We don't actually have any wall balls here at Muscle Hut, so I'm just gonna have to throw that onto another session at the end of the week. And then we got 30-minute stairs to finish at either high zone 1 heart rate or zone 2 heart rate, which for me will be zone 2 heart rate, because I like to go hard on the Stairmaster, as you can see from yesterday. So yeah, like I say, this one's gonna hurt, this one's gonna drag, but let's get into it. it is the following morning and we are back at the gym for some intervals, some 1K repeats. Still feeling beat up and a touch sore from the leg session and the base run yesterday. So whoever thought to program 1K repeat in the following day, mental. But anyway, we're gonna get these done. Like I say, I'm not feeling this session. Last few days of training have been hard, but we have Istanbul, in which we're 8 weeks out from. We then have Birmingham coming up. I want to make sure I'm hitting some good times. Funny, I was literally in the gym car park, sat in my car, death scrolling, procrastinating, not wanting to come in and do this session. And then I'm flicking through Instagram stories. I see Reese up at 5 a.m. in the gym for his workout. And that's why I love Hyrox doubles, because then that's me in the back of my head thinking, don't let down your doubles partner. Do not let down your doubles partner. Honestly, them iron sharpens iron friends, mate. If you can find one of them, you'll push yourself further, no doubt. But yeah, shout out to him for holding me accountable this morning. He probably doesn't even know, but we're about to get this session done. So time to hurt, let's go. So that is that there, wrapped up 7 times 1K, 350 pace held for each round. So happy with that, it was moving nicely. I'll tell you what lads, it's always the sessions in which you don't want to do, in which you're most glad that you did. They're always the sessions in which you will feel 10 times better for afterwards. Remember that, it's always the sessions in which you don't want to do. They're the ones that count. Well, the right to it is now the next day and we have only got one single session. So up and at it early doors for 60 minutes on the stairs, and then we have upper B later to attend. Excited for that one, so I'll be sure to take you through it. Just gone 5 and we are up and at it for another 8K base run, but that was yesterday's second upper session of the week. I will leave the workout there if you want to screenshot that, but I did actually want to take my camera and my mic into the gym, mic myself up and ultimately walk and talk you through that session with lifting cues and pointers throughout, but I forgot my mic, so yeah, kind of just had to get some B-roll footage and make do. So apologies for that, but anyway, I'm gonna get after this run and then I'll touch base with you all after. And that is the training week wrapped up there, YouTube. I did have one more session to box off this week, which was my sled density session, but I haven't actually signed up to the gym yet, which has the sled equipment. I'm gonna sign up to that today, which today is a Sunday prior to this going live. I'll have to throw that session onto next week. I have only got one session tomorrow, so I most likely will just double that up and do that session tomorrow, which I suppose can be a vlog in itself. But no, regardless, that is my training week right there. Istanbul is booked and locked in now, which I'm really, really excited for. Open solo on Saturday and then open doubles on the Sunday. So this from here will almost be like a mini series of my training block into that race, and then we have a slightly larger gap between then and Birmingham, so maybe we may have to find something to do in between. But regardless, that is virtually everything now. I'm going to be breaking down my training in more and more depth and ultimately what kind of response I'm seeing from it.
where I'm noticing that I'm slacking ever so slightly. I assume there most likely will be another testing week in between now and Istanbul. I'm not sure. I know that my coach is a fan of still testing ultimately whilst you're actually in season, just to kind of see where you're at. But either way, we're going to try and get a good run of races in from now until the end of the year. I know that they'll be releasing tickets for London XL soon. I know that Dublin will be in November, as will Barcelona on the same weekend. So either way, could hit up one of them. It will be my birthday weekend as well, so it makes sense to do so. Tenerife in September, of course. Potentially that could be on the cards. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying being an athlete right now. Really enjoying being locked in with my training, being an athlete. Of course, that's always kind of been me. That's always been me. I've always been locked in with my training, with my diet for 95% of the year. But no, just really inspired by what I'm working towards right now. Really motivated for it. So yeah, look forward to continue taking you on the journey. Like, share, subscribe. See you in the next one.